You are listening to the podcast For Wales, See Wales. Now, we are a podcast all about Wales, Welsh issues and Welsh politics. So if you want to be more informed about Wales, please keep listening. But in the meantime, we just need 2 minutes to pay the bills. In a month, we are going to the Royal Welsh Agricultural Show.
Yes, my homeland is
Your
where
people.
I feel most at home. I'm so excited.
Did you ever go there with young farmers?
Yes, I did go one evening. I could see the light in my dad's eyes go out as he waved me off, as he knew my life was about to change forever.
So we're going to be recording from inside a lion container.
Yes, we are.
Now, why are lion containers at an agricultural show?
So, rural crime is it's going up at the moment, especially in Wales.
Yeah.
And it's a really big problem. You know, it's not just livestock, it is machinery, chemicals, all this kind of things that are stored on farms. People are breaking into sheds very easily, but a shipping container is inherently difficult to break into. The lock boxes, you'd have to have extremely industrial tools yourself to break into one. So they're one of the biggest, most impactful solutions to rural crime. So lion containers are going to be there showcasing this. They're going to have quad bikes in there, tack for if you're a horse rider, feed, all of that kind of stuff. But they are going to empty it out because we're going to be there.
Exactly. And I get press releases from all 4 of the Welsh police forces, and actually there is quite a lot of evidence that like organised crime are casing out areas, because if you a farm, they're so asset rich, aren't they?
Exactly.
And like all of the money is tied up in that machinery and stuff. So it's a real way for people to actually protect their livelihoods.
100%, yeah. And that's what they're going to be there, showcasing all the different things that you can store securely. And also, it's like window watertight as well, so you can get good ventilation in a shipping container to avoid stuff like condensation. Your kit isn't going to go mouldy, but also it protects it from the weather, which, you know, we're having all sorts of extreme weather at the moment, and it really kind of protects from that.
Yeah, so we're going to have some good guests. We've got some people lined up. They will be confirmed officially a bit nearer the time. But yeah, if you want to find out more about how you can protect your farm or your residence, go to lioncontainers.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to For Wales, See Wales with me, Mel Owen.
And me, Will Hayward.
We're Remember Down again.
Remember Down again. We can't get the gang together.
No, it feels like, you know, Take That was like, is Robbie going? What's the other ones, you know?
Jerry Halliwell.
Jerry Halliwell for Spice Girls, yes.
Yeah, should we play Goodbye, My Friend?
Yes, I was about to sing Goodbye, My Lover. Very different song.
Wow, exclusive on the pod.
Oh my God, imagine. Charles and Robin's wife, absolutely not.
So where is he? Where do you think?
I think the problem is when you guys are giving it Mel's in prison, it's kind of believable. Where with Robin, we've said this before, no jury in the land would ever convict him.
Where do you think he's got? Where would Robin go? Narnia.
Bless him, Prince Caspian of Narnia. He is. He's such Prince Caspian vibes. You're Edmund. You're so Edmund. You're the little brother who's taking the Turkish delight and fucked everyone else up.
I think I'm older than Robin.
No, but you've got younger brother vibes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Is Edmund the one? I don't know. It's Lion, the Rich and the Water.
He takes the Turkish delight.
Okay.
Everyone's like, don't take it. And then the Queen comes along. She's a bit of a baddie. Okay. She's got some Turkish delight and he's like, I'm in. And then the rest of the series is just basically trying to undo his fuck up, basically.
I never read it.
Yeah.
I only ever watched it's Aslan.
Aslan. I had the PS2 game. Really? That's how into Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe I was, yeah.
Really?
Really into it, yeah.
So C.S. Lewis was, because he was friends with J.R.R. Tolkien.
Oh, okay.
And they had a writing group called the Inklings, and they used to meet up in pubs around Oxford and like discuss like literature and stuff.
Yeah.
But there was this author at the time who was like, they thought was shit.
Yeah.
So they would just gather and read out their stuff and just laugh at them in the pub together.
Are you joking? Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They don't sound delightful. They don't sound like people who are having a lot of sexual intercourse. But thank you for the literature.
Are you saying that fantasy writers, is that why so many of them write about sex?
Look, this is why I write facts. I write facts. My genre is factual, you know? That's what I'm saying. Do you know what? I listened to the episode last week and it was so good. And I was like, I think I'm holding them back. Like, you were both so good on that episode. And I thought, no, I'm going to really bring my like highbrow A game today.
I write about facts. Read between the lines. Read between the sheets.
Also, I watched it on YouTube and both your hairs were incredible.
Oh.
You both I was like, this suave, what is this, Suave Friday or something?
I used to have a lot less hair. And then I started a treatment, not a hair transplant.
Sure.
And that was like 4 years ago. It's made a massive difference.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Feeling more follically gifted.
You very follically gifted. I know I watched it. I was like, oh my days. Like you both, you had like this updo, like very Zac Efron-y chic. Like Robin has his curly thing.
He does get a little, he has a little bit of a, because his hair's very thick.
Yeah,
and he has a
is.
little kind of like, where's Wally? He does. Do you think Robin looks a bit like Where's Wally?
He does, yes, he does. That's where he is. We don't know where he is because we can't find him.
He's just stood in the middle of a large crowd. Do you know what we need to do? Next Rugby International Day, we're going to go onto St Mary Street in Cardiff.
Yes.
We're going to go up to one of the roofs. We're going to dress him as Where's Wally, and we're going to have him stand in the middle of the crowd, and we'll just take a picture, and then we'll be like, yeah, you get, I don't know, free merch if you can spot him.
Free hoodie if you can spot Where's Robin.
Where's Wobbin?
Where's Robin? But that's where he is. He's standing in a crowd somewhere. Nobody's found him yet.
I suppose we should say, if you would like to see Robin's hair in person,
yes,
it is possible to do it because we are having a live show on the 6th of September.
We are, 6th of September. Should we say where it's going to be?
Well, we teased last week that it was North Wales.
Yes.
I think we could say the city that it's in.
Oh, the city. It's a city which has had a documentary made about it on a little streamer called Disney Plus. They like to play...
Welcome to Rill.
Welcome to Sir Limburg. It's Wrexham.
Yeah, we're going to Wrexham.
We're going to Wrexham. We're genuinely so excited because the last live show genuinely was so much fun. And I know we joke about South Wales bias, but genuinely we can't wait to get up to North Wales because we talk a lot. Let's be honest, we do talk a lot about North Wales on the pod as well.
It is going to be nice to, like, I'm going to be up there this weekend because it's the Welsh Labour Conference. But it will be nice just to, you get when you are somewhere, you feel the issues more, don't you?
100%. You get a feel for it, and I'm sure. Like, I mean, me and Robin see this when we gig other places. Crowds are completely different. You know.
What are there any particular crowds in Wales that are quite distinctive?
North Wales, like West Wales, like in Caernarfon, Sir Fôn,
like Gwynedd kind of area.
Yeah, they're difficult. They're difficult. They've spent their hard-earned cash to be there. You better make them laugh. Like they're very I haven't done much in North East. I did Rill once. I did Rill Comedy Club once, and it was in my very first 6 months, right?
Okay.
And
so you're quite green at this point.
So green, really happy to be there. And there was what we thought was a hen do, about 20 women, very raucous. And it wasn't a hen do. They went out. It was my first time kind of doing some crowd work because crowd work's very scary. You're like almost losing control slightly, and it was my first time, so I was like talking to them, and it wasn't a hen do. They were celebrating their friend Sheila getting out of prison.
Did you find out what Sheila was in for?
Yes, battery. Yeah, and they said, and I said battery, and they all cheered so hard. So I'm like, whoever she battered, I hope that they deserved it because these women were loving it. And I was like, is this feminism? Do you know what I mean? They were like, whoa, Sheila!
Should we bleep Sheila's name?
Beep.
Imagine if she turns up.
Oh my God, please don't turn up in Wrexham. I'm like, yeah, all 20 of them. Imagine.
She's back inside.
She's back in. Sheila's back in. But I'm sure that's not going to happen at the live show because our listeners would never do such a thing. Commit battery.
Yeah.
No.
And Robin can just disappear into the background.
Yeah, exactly. Just be in the crowd.
Just stay still.
But how exciting.
Okay, shall we talk about Welsh politics?
Let's do it, yeah.
So, when Keir Starmer and the gang were elected last year on a wave of hope,
yes,
under the mantra of change, there's quite a lot of excitement, wasn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
They have seized control of the narrative by getting rid of winter fuel payments and cutting disability benefit.
Yeah.
One thing that kind of went under the radar with that is another decision that they made, which affects all of the UK, but it affects in Wales more. This is changes to local housing allowance. Now, the reason I think this has kind of gone under the radar is because it's a little bit complicated. It doesn't affect like as many people as the cuts to winter fuel, and also the people who it affects don't vote as much.
Right, okay.
But local housing allowance is basically the amount, if you're in the private rented, if you're renting privately, it's the cap on how much support you can get from the state to help with your rent. The way it works is it's based on where you live. So think of it as a cap. So if I was renting in an area and rents were at a certain level, do you remember at school when you did like averages, mean, median, and mode?
Yes, yeah.
So what they would say is you can only rent essentially the value of a house in the middle of your market. So the average price. So if you're in an area and the average house is rented for £600, that's the maximum you can get.
I see. Okay, yeah.
And actually kind of like fair enough.
Yeah.
50%.
The math feels like it's mathing there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it works well because obviously if you were to say in London, that rent might be set at like £1,800. But if you were then in Ebbw Vale and that cap was 1,800, you could live like a fucking...
Yeah, you'd have a small holding, right? Yeah.
You would have a small holding.
Yeah, you've got land.
So when George Osborne came in the...
I remember him.
Yeah, fuck it. Oh my God.
What a time.
You look back and you think, God, it was nicer then, but you also think, wow, that man really laid the seeds for all the crap to come.
Yeah. And I feel like he really lost me before that, but when he did the joke about wanting to lock Theresa May in a freezer. Do you remember that? When he said, he'd love to lock Theresa May in a freezer or like kill her and put her in a freezer or something. And it was really dark. And it was, when somebody makes a joke publicly, you're like, oh, that wasn't in the house joke. That was a friend's joke. Yeah. And you've said it publicly.
That's in the WhatsApp group.
That's in the WhatsApp group, yeah.
He always had because he's got quite pasty, isn't he?
Yes.
And there was, I know this phrase wasn't said about him, but there was something of the night about him as well.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And he also had a bit of I think he thought he had a glow up, but he just lost a lot of weight, basically. Do you remember? He lost a lot of weight very quickly, didn't he?
Yeah. Just got a little less jowly.
Yes, 100%, but a bit meaner. And what does that say about skinny people, Hangry.
So when basically the man who managed to make vampires not sexy came in, he lowered that 50% down to 30%.
Right.
So you could only get support down to the 30th percentile. So you couldn't essentially rent somewhere as nice.
Yeah.
Or nice at all, some would argue. His theory on this is, well, if we don't support people to live in as nice a house, the amount of demand will drop and it will mean that rents go down or not rise as quickly.
Okay.
That kind of supply and demand. But the problem is, this isn't like if you increase tax on cheese, where people might just go, okay, we're going to buy less cheese.
Yeah.
People still need to rent somewhere.
People still need to live somewhere. We all love cheese, but we can't live without it. Having a fixed abode is ideal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So actually what happened instead was rents continued to go up really quickly, but people just couldn't afford them. So homelessness went up.
Yeah, of course.
Which was an absolute nightmare. But what then happened was not only did they set it at 30%, they then froze it.
Right.
So every year with inflation, the amount of rents would go up, but the amount that people could claim stayed the same. So you remember in kind of the mid 20 teens, homelessness starts going up. It wasn't just because of this, but this was a contributing factor. Then, where Sunak last April, obviously part of them were probably doing this because they were like, well, we're going, screw it. But they moved it back up to 30.
Right.
So it dropped below that, but they moved it back to 30. The first thing that UK Labour did, Liz Kendall, who's in charge of this, part of the DWP, the Department for Work and Pensions, they froze it again.
Right, okay.
And the reason this is a problem for Wales is that in Wales, over the last 12 months, rents have risen faster than any other part of the UK.
That's... Why? Do you know why that is?
I don't, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you expect it just to be like London, don't you? Rents
yeah,
going faster.
100%, yeah.
But it's Wales, according to the ONS data. So over 12 months, rents in Wales went up 8.7%. In England, it was 7.5%. And in Scotland, it was just 5%.
That is quite a big margin as well.
It is. So, and what's crazy is if you have now frozen it and rents are rising quicker, that means that the relative amount of house you can get is dropping and dropping and dropping.
Yeah.
So say they cap, let's take an area like, say, Newport.
Yeah.
Just because I'm looking out the window. Say the rent you're able to claim is 500, but you can't rent anywhere until you get to 900,
Yeah.
you've got to make up that £400 shortfall another way. There's actually an example from Shelter Cymru, who've done loads of stuff on this. So in Newport, a family that need a 4-bedroom home are facing a shortfall of more than £3,000 over a year. A family looking for a 3-bed in Wrexham will need to find an extra £900 on top of what they're eligible for. So this thing just doesn't work.
No, and those are big chunks of money at the end of the day. They're not what you can find down the back of the sofa. This is serious. And for people, well, it's like the majority of people are like 2 paychecks away from being homeless.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a lot of money to expect people to just make up.
Yeah, and let's take out the kind of human side of this.
Yeah,
But actually,
sure.
the decision by Liz Kendall to freeze it was essentially because she wanted to reduce expenditure in the DWP budget. But the problem that this is, though it might reduce money in that small budget, someone becoming homeless is so expensive for the state.
Yes, sure.
So if someone becomes homeless, that costs the taxpayer £20,000. And what it does, it pushes the cost onto local authorities because the cost of dealing with homelessness is for local authorities.
Yeah.
So what the UK government have basically done is gone, look, we've saved ourselves a bit of money here, but actually all they've done is meant that local authorities have less money.
Yeah.
And proportionally, that's worse in Wales.
I wonder if, you know, the people who voted for Labour in the general election, like you said, with that wave of hope and things are going to change and things can only get better. I didn't sing it because we don't have the rights to. You know, do they feel lied to? Because I do sympathise that they came into a shit show. You know, I do really sympathise with that. And a lot of difficult decisions would have to be made. However, it feels like they've gone from Tory light to Tory to possibly even more Tory than Rishi Sunak has been.
Yeah, well, the people who voted, I think, did not imagine that they would reverse the freezing of...
No, exactly. It feels very anti their whole principle as a party.
And it is, and what's the dumbest thing about it is it doesn't save any money.
Of course.
The most, I say in my newsletter, the most frustrating thing about this cost-saving measure is it doesn't save any costs. And it's such a stupid mentality. Like, instead of looking at the country as a whole and thinking, right, how are we going to fix this problem? They go, oh, how can we take a bit out of this budget?
Yeah.
It's so, like, ridiculous because actually it will save loads of money if you were able to stop people being homeless.
Yeah.
It's also, I think, underlines how irrelevant Welsh Labour kind of are.
Well, yeah, because they clearly haven't been able to say, hang on a second, this is going to disproportionately affect Wales in a bad way. Have they had any say at all in this?
So Welsh Labour and the Welsh Government have been calling for it to be raised to 50% since
Right.
George Osborne reduced it to 30%.
Oh, but back in the days of yore.
Back in the days of yore. And this was something they were really passionate about. Now that UK Labour have come in, you don't hear that said.
Yeah, not as passionate about it anymore.
Not quite as passionate.
Yeah.
Not quite as passionate. But I did want to raise this thing about the Welsh Government do have their own schemes to try and stop homelessness. So it's not just people in the private rented sector, also people who have mortgages. Mortgage repossessions have gone up quite a lot recently. So that's people who've got a mortgage but have been able to meet their repayments. Now, the Welsh Government launched a scheme called Help to Stay. And this was to help people who are struggling to pay their mortgage. And it was launched in November 2023 with 40 million allocated to provide loans for families that are struggling. So they basically didn't need to pay back these loans for 5 years. So the loan would reduce their monthly repayments on their mortgage. So it's basically saying, right, get through this tough period and then you can pay this back later, make it more manageable. Which sounds good. But in the first 12 months of the scheme, just 5 loans were given out across the whole of Wales.
Oh, gosh. Was the criteria just, they were like, sorry, you don't meet it?
I don't know. So they only had 59 applications.
Well, also, do people know about this? It's all very well having a scheme and then being like, we've got a scheme, but we're not going to tell anybody.
But even the people who knew about the scheme, less than 10% of the applicants got anything.
Oh, gosh.
So the Welsh Government will argue that this scheme came with like an advisory element, so people given financial advice. But the fact is, you've allocated £40 million to a scheme where you've given out 5 loans.
Yeah, those 5 loans, they better have been 10 million each.
But it's just like, the whole thing, I just think sums up so many of the issues. Like, the UK government are doing stuff which ultimately will harm people but looks good on their immediate balance sheet.
Yes.
You've got a Welsh government that talks a good game, but when it does try and do anything, it doesn't even manage to really get any of the money they've allocated out the door. You just want to feel like things are going to get better, don't you? And it just feels like every single decision made ultimately just either kicks the can down the road or punches someone with the can.
The can has been used as a weapon. It's very whatever the opposite of encouraging is. Sorry, it's a Monday morning for us. We're recording on Monday morning, and what would be the opposite of an encouragement? Discouragement.
It's just like sometimes I find it hard to even elicit the like usual rage that I can.
Yeah,
get over
because I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
We've come to the point where we're like, yeah, we do get this. We get treated like shit. Like, this is how it is. And, okay, so we got the same government, both sides of the M4. We hate that phrase. But we've got that. No better. If anything, kind of getting a little bit worse at the moment in the short term. If we are to change government in Wales, they're not going to agree. Is it going to be any better, any worse? It just feels like what has to happen for Wales to get a fair deal? And we're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for fairness.
Yeah. What Labour will say, Wales is getting more money than they've ever got.
Okay.
And that is true. But the first thing to say is, it really, even if it goes up with inflation, which is technically not going up at all.
Yeah.
That is going up every year. So it's the very minimum should be we get every year more than we've ever got, because that's how progress happens.
Yeah. It's a bit manipulative. It's a bit gaslighty to be like, sorry, you are being treated better than you've ever been treated. I know it's not what you should get, but it is better than it ever has been.
So it's interesting you say that, because you've had like a busy week, haven't you? You didn't actually see the line from a UK minister about being grateful, have you?
No, I've not been in politics land at all this week.
Okay, let's talk about that. So this first bit was from the Liberal Democrat MP David Chadwick.
Okay.
And he was asking about Wales being completely shafted when it comes to rail funding.
Sure.
So this was his question. This is his question.
Insulting it is for Welsh ears to be told that we're getting a fair deal when it comes to railway funding, when we know that we've been cheated out of billions of pounds due to the classification of several projects as England-Wales projects.
A fair question.
Fair question.
Yeah, thank you.
Like kind of a job of a backbench MP is to ask that question. So then the response was from the Chief Secretary to the Treasury. I'll just be interested in you. I'm so glad I get to see you watch this for the first time.
Okay.
There's a key difference, Madam Deputy Speaker. Under the last government, you didn't get a penny. Under this Labour government, working with the Labour government in Wales, not only have you got the largest real terms increase in spending in Wales since devolution began, you've got £455 million for rail infrastructure, nearly £130 million for coal tip safety, and many, many other things. This is the benefit of two Labour governments working together to deliver for the people of Wales, and you might want to be a little bit more grateful in the future.
Oh, the audacity of that man. You should be a little bit more grateful in future. Sorry, that is, right, clip that up, right, as the reason Wales feels hard done by, right? You should be a bit more bloody grateful. How about that? You've got some money.
It's amazing he couldn't reach across the chamber and tap him on the head.
Yeah, it was the most patronising thing. Oh my gosh.
Do you know what it sums up? It sums up that they don't even get why this is this is not Wales saying, we want more money, we want more money. This is an absolute scandal, which his own party have admitted was a scandal before the election, which they are now saying, actually, this isn't an issue. And they haven't even fixed this happening again.
No, this is the thing. And if you were to say to people, why do Wales feel so frustrated in the attitude towards them? This is it. Do you know what I mean? This is exactly it, to be like, well, you should be grateful you're getting this. What is this attitude towards Wales generally? Like, even taking the politics out of it, being like, God, they're getting that. What more do they want? And what we're owed? Like, it's not like you say, we're not asking for special treatment. It's literally asking for what is ours.
Yeah. I think when you're young and naive, you think that politicians will look at your society and go, right, where are the problems? Where are the issues?
Yeah.
Let's fix them. Ultimately, heavy rail is the responsibility of the UK government. They look across England and Wales, and they look at Wales and they go, right, these guys have got the worst railways. They've got some of the lowest levels of productivity. Only 4% of their line are even electrified.
Yeah.
We need to do something about that. Instead, and then actually think, why is that? Why have they been underfunded? Okay, it's because of how we classify stuff. Okay, we can see that is an injustice. Bear in mind, ran a fucking election campaign on it being an injustice.
On that, yeah.
But then, instead of that, they go, oh, look at these agitating for more money. You should be You should be grateful that you even have a railway. It's absolutely. I mean, it's a huge problem that they're not even acknowledging as a problem. And this idea that Scotland is getting so much more money when it already has a better rail network? It's absolutely scandalous, that response.
It is. And like, how could anybody Welsh watching that think that is a party who really cares about us?
Yeah.
That's the damage that has done, I would say, to like Labour's image within Wales, or should do, frankly. Like, if I was in Welsh Labour, I would be tearing my hair out watching that clip. Like, because it's also disrespectful to Welsh Labour if they even exist at the moment, you know? Like, it is, because it's completely undoing any mood of Labour sticking up for you, Labour care.
I spend a fair bit of my time when I'm talking to people around Wales, when you speak to like Welsh nationalists and stuff, I'm always, when they kind of do the, England, Wales getting screwed up, Wales, like, they hate Wales, they want to keep Wales down.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there is a plan to keep Wales down, but my God, does this help feed that narrative?
That really just backs it up.
It is just complete apathy for the challenges Wales face. And I think what is most frustrating is that this idea of like devolve and forget, like devolution means the UK government, in some ways, doesn't feel like it has a responsibility to Wales.
No.
And it doesn't have the responsibility to Wales when it comes to running the health service, but it is the only institution that has the ability to fix Wales's like infrastructure and actually properly fund Wales. And this idea that, they're just some other people who are begging for our money. Do Welsh people not pay taxes?
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. It's not us asking for something. It's demanding what is rightfully ours.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Not, you should be grateful you're getting that, babes.
And can you imagine him saying that about Scotland? Can you imagine if a Scottish MP stood up and said, you ran this campaign on fixing this. You have really screwed us over. Wales has been given 10 times the amount of money. And can you imagine a Labour MP going, well, I think Scotland just needs to be a bit more grateful? It wouldn't even enter their head to say that.
No, but imagine like the news as well will kick off. And I know we've talked about before, like how the coverage of like Welsh politics, it's not in the news, like UK news. If that had happened to Scotland, that comment in the Commons would have caused absolute outroar in the media. But like you know, whilst I wasn't in politics land last week, you know, I still had the news on. I didn't hear about this at all.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So how is this absolute disregard for Wales and disrespect just being kind of shunned over? It's because we come to expect it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, we feel equal rage watching that, but we're not surprised.
No. And in Scotland, not only would it get the coverage, on the back of it, there would be it would be the talking points. It would be guiding the political discourse over that next week. Instead, it's just some Treasury minister being a bit of a knob.
Yeah.
What I'm annoyed about is that it underlines the 15 years of underfunding.
Yes, 100%.
And 15 years in the future, because this isn't fixed.
No.
This is going to keep happening. The gap is going to keep getting worse between how Wales's railways compared to other parts of the UK.
I think and I'm sure he'd maybe rephrase it given half a chance now, but I think the use of the word grateful, it really underlines what the issue is here. It's not a gratitude for something, for a gift. It is what is rightfully ours. And like you say, it has such a knock-on effect. It's on industry in this country, this, that and the other. Like, we punch above our weight so well considering the shit hand that we've got.
Yeah.
And like you say, this is something that's up until now, but also 15 years in the future, still is going to have a knock-on effect. Yeah. And we are just constantly climbing out of a hole that is being dug for us. It's callous. Sorry to overreact, but it is callous.
I think, when you said it, we've dealt a shit hand. It's almost like if you're playing poker, we're given one less card. It's not that our hand's bad. It's actually we have one less card to play with.
Exactly.
So the maximum hand we can get is just less than other places. There's no way for us to get a straight in poker because we only get 4 cards.
No, exactly. Do you know what, about, when was it? 3 weeks ago, I went to go and watch Beyonce's Cowboy Carter.
I saw your picture of you in a very nice hat.
Thank you so much. I did go full cowboy for it. And when you were waiting for it to come on, there was this thing on the screen that said, you never be grateful for what is rightfully yours. And this whole time, she was talking about Welsh Rail. That's what she was talking about. I was like, thank you. Beyonce gets it. The fucking Treasury Minister doesn't it, but Beyonce Carter gets it.
She's shouting at UK Labour, go to the left, to the left.
Brilliant. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Right, let's take this back to housing, because I want to talk about the issue of housing a bit more broadly. What is the worst house you've ever lived in?
Oh, I've been very, very fortunate that none of my student houses were that bad. However,
Right.
I had a very, very bad letting agent in my second year of uni who would like charge us for things other houses had done, and I was on like second year of law school, and I was really whipping out all of my lingo.
Precedent.
Yeah, really just kind of going in and laying down the law for them because they were absolute cowboys.
What sort of stuff were they trying to charge for?
Oh, if bin bags had been left outside a house that had to be like privately collected, they'd try and charge us for it. And I'd be like, there's literally nothing here. And they'd be like, yes, there is. And they'd be like, oh, that's for number 52 and we're in 64, And then there would never even be an apology. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And being me was like, I'll await your apology. Thank you so much. And, or, they just like let people into the house without telling us. And I'd be like, this is illegal, actually.
Yeah, like to look round.
Yeah. Or like our oven didn't work the whole year, and stuff like that. And that was pre-air fryer, imagine.
Oh my God.
I know.
What were you eating?
A lot of microwave meals. Just to
Yeah.
basically microwave. And then I wondered why I was always ill,
Did you have a signature dish as a student?
No, just a lot of like crispy pancakes. You remember Finder's crispy pancakes?
No.
Do you never have a crispy pancake?
No.
Oh, okay. So it would be like a breaded pancake with like chicken and bacon in, cream, or I think it had no nutritional value whatsoever.
Is that like the processed of processed?
So processed? I'm surprised Jamie Oliver didn't ban them. Yeah, what is up there?
I actually have recently come around to I don't really like sweet and savoury things
Okay.
together.
Right. Sure.
But like so for instance, pineapple on pizza.
Big with you
stuff.
there.
Yeah. But I have maple syrup on bacon and pancakes.
I've seen this. Is it good?
Oh my God, it's so good.
Is it?
It is. It's so nice. Like I'm it's like crack.
Is it?
It's so addictive.
On a holiday I went on once, the buffet did sugary waffles, and one day I had chorizo on the sugary waffles.
Ooh.
So good. So because I'm with you. Say sweet and savoury should coexist separately, but this was, and I think that's probably the maple syrup bacon kind of.
You've always been
genre as well.
pro segregation though, haven't you?
I've always said it, and I'll say it again. Separate the people, segregate. There should be more segregation in this culture. Actually, that's why Robin's not here.
He would be the glue that binds us all together.
He would, yeah.
So the reason I ask is because we hear often about Wales being the sickest country, the oldest country in the UK. What we also hear sometimes is about us having the worst housing.
Yes.
So actually Wales does have the worst housing in the UK. And a big part of that is because we have the oldest housing in the UK. So 26% of houses in Wales, so over a quarter, were built pre-1919. So
Wow,
like
okay.
World War I or before.
Yeah.
So 26%. That's compared to 21% in England and 11% in Northern Ireland.
Right, okay.
I don't have the Scottish data because it was recorded slightly differently. But I think the most damning thing about this is Wales is on 26% and England's on 21%. But Wales, we only count occupied houses, whereas in England they count all houses, so ones that aren't occupied. So the
Right.
English figure is probably quite a lot lower.
Yeah, exactly.
So the gap is quite significant.
Yeah.
And there's like a way of ranking houses and defining them as in poor condition. So of basically the older I know people slag off new builds and some of them are just awful. I've done stuff on like some of the crap these companies throw up. But in terms of quality compared to old houses, basically the older the house, the more likely it is to be poor quality. So in Wales, over a third of houses which are pre-1919, over a third of them are poor quality.
Right, okay.
So whereas ones built post-1980, only 5% are poor quality.
Right, okay, yeah.
So it is quite significant.
Yeah.
And the thing with poor quality housing, when you think of, if I said a poor quality house, what sort of stuff are you thinking of?
I'm thinking a lot of mold, a lot of like kind of stuff, not falling down, but do you know what I mean?
damp.
Like, yeah, damp coming down, stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, so those sort of things do have like a really, really big impact. So it is like a really significant problem. Beyond kind of damp and mold and cold, which you can understand how that has a health impact. One of the biggest problems we have in Wales is how likely our houses make people to fall. So
But literally fall over, do you mean?
fall. Yeah, old people falling.
Oh, okay,
Because
sure.
like especially areas like the valleys, but rural areas as well. the amount of houses which have really super narrow, steep stairwells.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
you know, that kind of traditional one where you've got like, basically you feel like you're on like the Stairmaster when you're like trying to walk up them.
Yes, and also the stairs themselves are quite shallow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you've got boat feet like mine, right? I can't quite get all of my foot
Do you have
on
to
them.
angle it to the
yes,
sides to
it's
try
not cute, Will.
like walking in flippers?
It is like I've always got flippers on, basically.
So I have such tiny feet, they're basically hooves. I'm like one of those goats you see on dams.
Yes, exactly. That's why you're so good on terrain.
Yes, exactly. But what we also have, it's not just inside of houses. Quite a lot of houses, especially because of like the topography of Wales, they've been built where you walk out your house and then you walk down like 10 concrete steps.
Yes.
To try. And the amount of times that there'll be like some guttering going across one of them and stuff like that. Now, the problem is if an old person falls, beyond that person, and we care about people, but from a purely financial perspective, it's so expensive. So if an old person falls and has paralysis and has to be looked after, that's 90 grand a year. That costs the NHS.
And also, let's be honest, an NHS that could do with,
They could do the win.
Exactly, they could, you know?
You've got a really, really poor housing stock. And the thing is with issues is you can fix them. You can make things better. And I think in Wales, we've become conditioned to the idea that we can't do that. So if you spend, and it costs money, costs quite a lot of money, but if you spent money fixing Wales's housing stock, it actually pays for itself many, many times over. So let me give you an example. If you spent £200 million making Wales's houses warmer, in less than half a decade, that has paid for itself in the NHS.
Already?
Yeah, half a decade. That's already paid for itself.
That's like, what is one term? Do you know what I mean?
Plus people are warm.
Yeah, on the other side, people are just like living comfortably, yeah.
So, but I've got some figures here. So it is hard to estimate, but they've got some pretty good data on how this comes from a Public Health Wales report. So if you fixed falls on a level surface, so that is not stairs, but like things like slippery surfaces, cracks in like paths outside houses, things like that, that would cost £32 million to fix across Wales. But it saves the NHS 16 million a year. So in 2 years, that's paid for itself.
That's incredible.
So in 10 years, the NHS would have saved over £100 million just from that investment.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. The total cost of fixing falls associated with steps, the total cost of fixing that is about £100 million. But in 6 years, that's paid for itself.
We're a very topply nation, aren't we? We're absolutely like flooring it constantly. This is
just stacking it.
This is absolutely every day. I'm surprised I've seen anybody upright today.
But the thing, like, there's so many, like, excess cold. It costs £200 million to insulate Wales.
Yeah.
But in 4.8 years, in just under 5 years, you've paid for it. And the problem, and it's such a no-brainer, and this doesn't take into account the amount that this would increase people's house values.
Yeah.
So the value of people's assets would go up. It would reduce ongoing maintenance costs because at the moment we just patch everything. It would lower energy costs. It would lower CO2 emissions, and it could potentially even lower people's insurance premiums. So that's on top of those other savings. And the reason I kind of mention this is because we talked about Liz Kendall going, well, I've actually saved the DWP this much, but local authorities are like, well, you've cost us much more than you've saved.
Yeah.
Things like this, like actually, I mean, literally mending the roof while the sun is shining. Stitches in time do save 9. I fucking love a phrase.
He loves the phrase.
This would kind of pay, and we've had, because of the Tories and because of austerity, we've had so many years of people just having to make do and like not doing a stitch in time, doing a stitch a lot later and then going, well, this budget's quite going up and up and up.
Yeah.
Like having super one long waiting lists and then Keir Starmer going, well, why are so many people off work?
Yeah, exactly. As if they're Well, this kind of goes into what Mark Drakeford was talking about when he was on the podcast in terms of the preventative. So it's the keeping people out of the hospitals.
Yeah.
To help the NHS at the end of the day, isn't it? And this all kind of feeds into that. And like these very short timeframes that you're talking about, these feel like very tangible and possible wins.
Yeah. It pays for itself. Like if I was to say, imagine my boiler breaks and I go, well, it's going to cost me £3,000 to do this. I'm not going to do it. But then I spend a winter where I'm ill and off work.
Yeah.
Like that's immediately going to have cost me more than it is.
Yes,
isn't it?
exactly. Yeah.
So it is frustrating, but like Also the frustrating thing with the Mark Drakewood thing is he was like, we spend too much on hospitals, we put too much into secondary care, and you're like, if only you were in a position to make a difference, Mark.
It's funny that, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. If anybody could make that difference.
And when you talk to people about, because I'm doing this documentary on reform at the moment, and I was speaking to people and all of them, so much of it comes down to housing.
Right, okay.
If you fix housing, and this perception that other people are getting council houses and stuff before, because part of the issue is, we used to have, before Thatcher, we used to have loads and loads of social housing. So this was housing which is owned by the local authority, which people who needed homes could get homes, and they'd be of a certain quality. Things would be looked after. You wouldn't be just demanded that rent goes up and up and up and up, and you provide people with a secure home, and it makes things better for them, and it enables them to live nice lives.
Yeah.
Thatcher came in and was like, right, okay, we want people to be able to buy their council house. And part of me's like, yeah, it's nice to own your own home.
Yeah, give them autonomy.
Yeah. I own about 15% of my house, and Santander has the other 85%. But it's a really nice feeling, and it means that you are then wired into the market when house prices go up.
Yeah.
And I can understand absolutely the desire of people to own their home. But the problem is, this idea of right to buy, if you are then not replacing that social housing stock, it means that people are able to just take houses out of council control, and it means that there is, demand doesn't go down for social housing.
This is the thing, and that's where the math doesn't quite work 100%. You put people on the actual property owning ladder, absolutely, to facilitate more social housing for those people who then need it. Don't just draw up the ladder then.
Yeah, exactly, and that's because we just haven't built enough houses.
Yeah,
that is the big problem. And what's interesting as well is, if you get more social housing, it doesn't really, the data seems to suggest that it doesn't affect the overall price of houses. So people are like, well, if we build loads of social housing, that will reduce house prices. It just doesn't work like that. People who are using social housing are so unlikely to be buying their own house. It doesn't reduce demand in that way.
Yeah.
It just makes society better. And also, it will lower things like the tax bill, because good quality social housing lowers the NHS costs.
Yeah.
It makes people more able to learn and to study and to progress in life and, feed into this system. Anyway.
And breathe, William.
Yeah, so housing, massive issue. People don't talk about it a lot of the time because it's complicated, a lot of the time because it's not sexy, and a lot of the time because a lot of the people who these issues affect aren't voting.
Yeah.
So last week, you did listen to last week's pod, didn't you?
I did. I chuckled to myself on the tube. Yes.
You sent us a nice message about it.
I know I said this at the start, but I genuinely listened to it. It gave me a little bit of a complex. I was like, they're so good. And I was like, I wonder if they're as good when I'm on it.
The amount of my mates who say it's not as good when Mel isn't on.
Oh, thank you.
Enrages me, frankly. So last week we were talking about the waiting lists and the fact that the longest 2-year waits have suddenly gone up a little bit after going down for lots of months. I don't really want to talk about that, but what I do want to talk about is what Jeremy Miles, who is the health minister, or the cabinet secretary for health, we're going to call him the health minister.
Yeah.
I'm not ever using the phrase cabinet secretary. But he has been saying that set some targets. So for March next year, so he's a 12-month period, not for March next year. For a 12-month period, he says that they're going to inject £120 million, and they are going to reduce the overall weights. So these are the total weights, not the longest weights, by 200,000.
Right.
Now,
okay.
that is, at the moment, the waiting lists on the Welsh NHS are 800,000.
Right.
So, and it's been 800,000 around that mark for about 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
It's barely changed. The longest waits have gone up, they've gone down, they've spiked a bit. But we'll put this on graph on YouTube. But I'm showing it to Mel now. That is the total weights on the Welsh NHS. It's almost a straight line, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It's barely moved. It hasn't gone down.
And he wants to cut it by a quarter.
He wants to cut it by a quarter.
Okay.
In a year. Now...
Sorry, I hadn't actually computed that. In a year?
In a year.
Okay, sure.
And I so hope I'm wrong on this, but I just have no idea how they're going to do that with 120 million, which is 1% of the Welsh NHS budget.
I don't mean this in a malicious way, but they're hoping a lot of people are going to die. Because do you know what I mean? Like, how else is this happening?
So we went back when I was at Wales Online. I put in some FOIs about how many people on waiting lists are just dying on the waiting list.
Yes, exactly.
And actually, it's not enough to attribute any falls, but it isn't a small amount.
Sure.
But I mean, I have no idea. I mean, if 120 million is going to make that much of a difference, why the? I mean, that is.
Why have
that
we
is-
waited?
It's a rounding error.
Yeah,
it's 0.5% of the total Welsh Government budget.
I'm sorry, if that's what we're going to take to cut it down by a quarter, I feel like this could have been done before.
I mean, Vaughan Geffin almost gets that in donations.
Not anymore, because of some pesky journalists.
To be clear, he did not get 120 million pounds.
That would have been... I would have respected him so much if he got 120 million.
120 million?
Imagine what he'd have done with it. One of the most corrupt leaders in the world. He'd have been up there with them.
He's not corrupt. I really, really hope I'm wrong on this, but how are they going? I mean, because it's not just these waiting lists. It's not just that there's 800,000 waits, and if you treat 200,000, they're done. It's getting added to all the time. Every
Yes.
time. If I went to the GP tomorrow and said, I'm a bit concerned about this lump, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's benign. I'm a bit concerned about this lump. I get added to that. This isn't 2-year waits.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I hope we're wrong. I hope we're just
so
being
hope we're
pessimistic. And I hope Jeremy Miles can come on in a year and be like, look what I've done. And I hope he can. But this feels insane.
If we get to March next year and Jeremy Miles is standing there ahead of election saying,
Look what I've
we've
done.
actually done that. That is the sort of thing which I don't think it's going to arrest the massive slide they're in, but it is something.
Yeah.
If they can do that, and I think maybe that's why they've gone for it. But yeah, I mean, watch this space. If they manage it.
If he manages that, I mean, he's such a shoo-in for next leader. He has to be.
Oh.
If he manages that, that's incredible.
Health minister who's done something.
Yeah, I know, for a start.
I mean,
you
the
know?
last 3 health ministers have been... the last 3 first ministers have been former health ministers who, one would argue, have presided over pretty abject failure.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if he's someone who's done something... whew,
Yeah, something not even mildly successful. You know, this would be incredible.
not
This would
even
be-
mildly successful.
This would be a hell of a turnaround.
Yeah, so, fingers crossed.
We'll see.
I'll get my lump checked out. Yeah, I think we've sorted NHS, I think we've sorted housing.
Yes.
Done it all today.
I sorted falling. Falling. I'm going to be so nervous about falling. I'm quite a fally person as well.
What's the best fall you've ever had?
I'd had, it was so lovely. I'd had like my first ever like gifted experience. I felt like a proper like influencer wanker. do you know?
Right, okay.
And I was
So
like,
that's where like a company will say, would you like to come here?
yeah, exactly. So it's a hotel. You and your friend can come for a night stay, have dinner, and just create some content. And we were going down the stairs, and we were like in our like spa robe, trying to like really chic, like Molly May, and like coming down, and like had like the mirror opposite us. We were like, oh, this will be a really good shot. And coming down, like absolutely decked it. My ankle just like twisted itself, basically, like really hyper flexible. Just went down, and all you can see on the footage is me absolutely going down the stairs. And the whole rest of the trip, I'm like hopping along, basically.
Yeah.
Nothing about it's sexy. Nothing about it is chic.
It's do you get a lot of those kind of offers? Because I did one review when I was at Wales Online.
Yeah.
And the place was so shit, I couldn't give it a good review.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think since then, the hospitality's really dried up for me.
Yeah, they're not doing it. I had one that I was like, I'm so sorry, I can't post this. I had a curly haircut, because they're really rare. We should actually cover this in all seriousness on one of the pods, because Afro care and Afro haircut is like, it's criminal how little people are taught about it. So they'll go to college, curly hair won't even be mentioned, let alone I went to Birmingham for the first 20 years of my life.
It's very different.
It's
to cut
very,
Afro
very
hair, isn't
different,
it?
but also it's doable. Do you know what I mean? If they're spending a year in college learning how to cut hair, maybe do 2 days on Afro. Like, we exist,
Yeah.
you know? I spent the first 20 years of my life going to Birmingham to get my hair done. Like, it's,
Really?
yeah. There's 2 qualified curly hairstylists in the whole of Wales at the moment.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you didn't, because you straighten your hair,
Yeah.
would you be like Diana Ross
Yes.
level?
Yeah. I'll come in one day. I'll
Yeah.
throw out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I went to one of the qualified curly hairstylists, and like trying to make a big thing. Like, it's amazing that he was the first one in Wales, and it was so bad. And I was
Really?
like, I can't post this. I'm so sorry.
So did you actually have to say to him, look?
Can I just pay you?
Uh,
Yeah. I was like, please, can I just pay you? I can't.
I'd rather pay you than tell you this is good.
Yeah. It was that bad.
That is one of the things. Like, if you ever do get like hospitality stuff, I hate it because, like, you kind of feel like you owe them one.
Yeah, and I also don't want
This
to
is
be
why
that
I don't get
person that's going around doing the content. Do you know what I mean? I can't. I'm not very good at that.
I also feel like journalistically, you've got to be a bit kind of anti everything,
Yeah, it's different
and you
for
can't
you.
really endorse stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, as a comedian, like, you can kind of do it funny.
100%, yeah. And I think that's what they come to me for. I mean, there's one hotel where I like decked it. I think I'd hoped for something a bit more chic and suave, and there was just me hobbling around the spa basically for a whole night. So yeah.
What are you up to this week?
Well, I'm up to this. I'm close to home this week, which will be lovely. I was away, obviously, a lot last week, serving my prison sentence. Apologies again to the victims. But yeah, I don't do things in halves. We know this. But yeah, no, I'm closer to home this week. I'm writing a lot, which is really. July and August are really weird for comedians because if you're not going to Edinburgh, you're not doing any other work really. Okay. So like most comedians will be doing like previews, preparing to then go to Edinburgh for the whole of August. If you're not doing a preview,
And you're not doing Edinburgh this year?
I'm not. I'm going up for the third week just to kind of hop on some gigs, but nothing major, you know. I'm not taking a show. So yeah, it's a bit of a quiet time. So I'm writing, which will be me on the sofa, bit of daytime TV, see what's going on, you know. So yeah, if anybody wants to give me work, that would be amazing actually. Yeah. How about you? What are you up to?
I am going to be going to North Wales for the Welsh Labour Conference in Llandudno.
Oh, lovely.
It's at Venue Cymru, and hoping to speak to Eleni Morgan, Keir Starmer, all sorts of stuff. So that'd be good. But I'm going up because I'm working on I've got some other interviews to do, so I'm actually up there from Wednesday through to Sunday. So it's a long time in my little Airbnb in
Llandudno.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? I love running on that prom though. That's lovely. Yeah. That's great. Because you do running and stuff, don't you?
I do a bit of running.
Yeah. You gonna take your trainers up with you?
I might go in the sea.
Oh, lovely. That'd be nice. Yeah, this time of year. Hopefully this weather will stay. Yes, but I hope you have a great time. I love it when you go to conferences because the clips you come back with and then we get to dissect them.
I know, there's a big night out on the Friday, so I'm going to be the person no one wants to hang out with.
Yes, exactly.
I want to see, like, I want like a kind of Welsh UK Labour, like, fight. Yeah. Like, showdown, West Side Story. Yeah, just start clicking.
Clicking at them, yeah. Absolutely. I can't wait to hear everything that goes down.
Good stuff. But it's going to be an interesting one. I wonder if they'll just have their head in the sand. I suspect they will. But yeah, if you want to follow me and read all about that, it will be in the Will Hayward newsletter.
I would highly recommend that you subscribe. I that's a little gifted thing I get actually. I get a gifted newsletter.
I can't.
Gifted.
I can't make you pay for my newsletter.
No, but I do enjoy it, and I open it every Sunday, and I look forward to it.
Thanks, mate.
See you next week, and the band will be back together.
The band will be back together. Where's Wally will return?
Yeah, if we can find him.
We need to get him like a stick, a hat, and...
He's got the glasses already.
He has got the glasses.
He's definitely got a stripy t-shirt. He's got a stripy t-shirt all over him.
Oh, yeah.
Hasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if he's listening, wear it next week.
Right. Diolch yn fawr.
Bye.